How was it?
Oh, it was a hell of a ride. I thought I had to throw up a few times, and the curves, the brakes, the speed. It was a little bit more than I can bear, actually.
It's fascinating. When I listen to that recording, I can see your pale face again.
And I feel sick all over.
And you were a pitiful sight. But now that I think about it, you were the perfect image of the German auto industry. Pale, shaken and sick. A far cry from its former glory.
This is Delayland. Germany and the missing magic. Brought to you by DW.
Episode 2, German cars stuck in a jam.
I'm Nicolas.
And I'm Andreas. In episode 1, we traveled by train to discover a country that was in denial about its rail infrastructure troubles. A country that had seemingly delayed almost every chance to fix its problems.
This time, we look at Germany's auto industry. Car makers like Mercedes, BMW, Porsche, Audi and Volkswagen are known all over the world. And for many people, these brands are a symbol for Germany's economic power.
And it's true. The auto industry is one of the pillars of Germany's economy, employing more than 1 million people. It's usually a good indicator of how the country is doing.
At the moment, it's not looking good. Germany's car makers are in trouble. Big trouble. Their sales are shrinking and they're cutting jobs.
How did it come to this?
To understand what is happening and to get in the right mood, we hit the autobahn. Here we are at the famous German autobahn.
It's a system of highways that crisscrosses the whole country.
And what makes the autobahn really special is that at least theoretically you can drive as fast as you can.
That's what it's famous for. No speed limit, at least on about 70% of the autobahn network.
But the reality is much less exciting. Even when you're on a section without speed limit, there is often road constructions or traffic jams or both. And actually, that's what's happening right now.
Yeah, right now we are driving 20. We are kind of barely inching along. Cars in front of us. It's a traffic jam.
Yeah, well, it's not that normal that you can drive as fast as you want. And that's why we are going to visit a man who does his racing elsewhere.
Hi, my name is Misha Charoudin. I'm living at the Nürburgring, driving cars, racing cars, having fun.
Racing is Misha's passion. On social media, millions follow him to see his videos from the Nürburgring. We'll put his link in the show notes.
For car enthusiasts, the Nürburgring is even more magical than the Autobahn. It's one of the most famous racetracks in the world.
Located in the woody hills of the Eifel in western Germany, the track's history spans 100 years.
The ring was officially opened on June 18, 1927. Here, Mercedes-Benz made racing car history with its Silver Arrow in the 1930s. Major races were held on the Nürburgring even after World War II. Argentinian Silver Arrow driver Juan Miguel Fangio became a legend, winning the Formula One World Championships 5 times and 3 Grand Prix victories one after another on the Nürburgring.
But the Nürburgring is not only a racetrack. From the beginning, it was planned as a track where car makers could test their latest models. Misha agreed to take us on a lap of the green hell to help us understand why, even after 100 years, the racetrack is still valuable for car makers.
We had to go separately though, because Misha's race car, a BMW M2, only has 2 seats.
So it's a 6-cylinder, 3-liter, twin-turbocharged engine that in this car delivers 450 horsepower. Very capable, very strong, and it's right now probably one of the best engines in the world.
It was my turn first. I wore a helmet, obviously, and was strapped so tightly it was difficult to breathe. Misha told me we'd be going faster than 250 kilometers per hour. That's about 155 miles per hour.
Okay, if you feel sick or something, or if you don't trust me, then tell me to slow down a bit.
Okay. I knew that car racing was physically demanding, but I expected nothing like this. When Misha accelerated, I was pressed into the seat with brute force. When he braked hard, I felt my soul leave my body. And when the gravitational forces pulled at me on the curves, I had trouble keeping my head up. I felt sick.
We need to warm up the tires a bit, so we're taking it easy.
Oh, okay. I didn't know we were taking it easy. While I held on for dear life, Misha seemed completely relaxed as he explained the track.
This is the Nordschleife, the world's longest permanent racetrack, one of the most exciting ones. And it makes it very cool because you have a combination of fast corners, slow corners. So here's very fast. You need to have very good aerodynamics. We're doing 190 through the corner. This is why the Nordschleife is such an important track for lap records, because if the car can do a good lap time here, this means all the components work: suspension, tires, engine, chassis, then of course also the driver itself. It's better than roller coaster, I think.
Yes, definitely.
If the car can survive a lap here like this, means you've done something good.
So do all the German car makers test here too?
Yeah, everyone, mostly the Germans, because of course for them accessible. A lot of them have like their testing centers like really next door. So it allows them to be here almost every day to try out their cars, components and everything. And well, that's it, we've done a lap.
Wow. Well, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
When I got out of the car, I felt sick to the core and looked the part. I'm shaking. But after Nicolas finished his own lap around the track, that smirk was wiped off his face. How was it?
Oh, it was a hell of a ride. I thought I had to throw up a few times, and the curves, the brakes, the speed. It was a little bit more than I can bear, actually.
We came back from our Nürburgring adventure with a new respect for race drivers, but also with a better understanding of how important engineering was in Germany and its car industry.
German car makers have made engineering, passion and performance the core of their respective brands. It's like the magic ingredient in a recipe.
Add to this a long and impressive history. German inventor Nicolas developed the first efficient internal combustion engine.
The diesel engine was named after a German engineer, Rudolf Diesel.
And Carl Benz and Gottlieb Daimler are credited with inventing versions of the first modern cars.
All that's given German car makers plenty of material for advertising over the years.
Mr. Daimler? Mr. Daimler, you are working too much.
Maybe, but I made a promise. The promise to build the world's first automobile. And to never stop reinventing it.
Volkswagen has the most vehicles on the road with over 100,000 miles. That's the power of German engineering.
You could ask how we managed to build such a legendary race car. And then, how to combine the power of a sports car with a business sedan.
Audi, home of Vorsprung durch Technik.
For a long time, this glowing legacy worked like magic for German car makers. They sold their vehicles not only in Germany, but all over Europe and later the world. The industry grew and grew, slowly becoming a pillar of the German economy.
In 1950, all German car makers combined sold about 200,000 vehicles. Now sales are in the region of 14 million per year.
Jobs also increased a lot. In 1950, German car makers employed fewer than 100,000 people. Now they employ more than 1 million workers globally.
Add to this hundreds of thousands of jobs at suppliers who produce the individual parts for cars, from gearboxes to windshields. And if you also count jobs in car-related industries like repairs and other post-sale services, the number is even higher.
So the car industry is a good indicator of how Germany is doing economically. Think taxes and salaries.
The big car makers pay well above average salaries. Even a worker on an assembly line at Volkswagen, Mercedes or BMW was once considered well off. Good pay, job security and a great work-life balance.
35 hours, flexi time, mobile working as possible, paid vacation, Christmas extra. Then there is the shareholder value, like the bonus if the company makes profit. Yeah, so it's the whole package.
We reached out to all of the big car makers and invited them to be part of this episode. Volkswagen, Mercedes and BMW declined.
So we talked to employees directly, and we changed their voices to avoid their running into problems with their employers.
Because the truth is, the good times are over. All the big car manufacturers are cutting jobs. Some are even thinking about closing factories. The whole industry, suppliers included, is nervous about the future.
In short, the magic is gone.
Now, there's more bad news for German car makers, with heavyweights Volkswagen and Mercedes-Benz posting year-on-year declines of over 40% in net profits.
At a special meeting of the workforce at its headquarters, VW executives told employees that the company may have to close factories in Germany if it's to survive a huge slump in car sales.
The pressure rises. The cost savings are tremendous. One example is there are no Christmas celebrations anymore. It's all, since years now, cut costs. And this you find everywhere. The pressure rises.
The pressure hasn't appeared overnight. It's been building for years.
That's a parallel to the rail system we talked about in episode 1. The problems have been brewing for some time.
But they were ignored and denied, and solutions delayed.
That's why we call this podcast Delayland. Let's go back to the year 2015. That's the year the Dieselgate scandal broke, when US authorities caught Volkswagen cheating on emissions tests.
Volkswagen is by far the biggest of the German car makers. Its brands include VW, but also Audi, Porsche, Skoda and others.
Volkswagen paid dearly for Dieselgate. More than 30 billion euros in damages, fines and legal fees. Several lawsuits are pending. Other companies were also caught cheating on emissions tests, but it was found to a lesser degree.
Even worse than financial ramifications of Dieselgate was the cultural significance of a trusted German brand found cheating. In 2015, the same year the diesel scandal came to light, nations agreed for the first time on goals to limit global warming at the UN's Paris Climate Summit.
The optics were awful. While politicians showed that they had realized the need to reduce emissions, reflecting a global consensus, these renowned German car makers were caught cheating to pass emissions tests.
Instead of adapting to climate change, their cheating looked like they just wanted to continue business as usual. Elsewhere in the world, 2015 was also the year when electric vehicles started to show an impact on the market. US carmaker Tesla sold more than 50,000 electric cars for the first time that year and doubled its sales within the next 2 years.
German car makers had just introduced their own first electric vehicles, but were still unsure whether the technology would pay off.
In China, meanwhile, electric vehicles gained traction. Sales of electric vehicles tripled in 2015 and crossed the 1 million mark in 2018. The world's biggest car market was changing fast and going electric.
So, around 2015 at the latest, there were signs all over the place that the global industry was changing. But Germany's car makers were already way behind.
Perhaps they were too caught up in Dieselgate scandal and its fallout.
Or they were blinded by their own success. The money they had made up until then, even and especially in China.
In 2018, German car makers produced more cars in China than in Germany for the first time.
The Germans had been making very good money in China for years. The numbers vary a bit from company to company, but it's fair to say that on average, every third car they sold was sold in China.
Beatrix Keim remembers those days well. She's now a director at CAR, Center Automotive Research, a consultancy in Duisburg, Germany. Before that, she spent more than 20 years working for Volkswagen in China.
It was gold digger time. It was really the rise of the whole market and earning lots of money, selling a lot of cars, because there was not that much alternative. There was not really a Chinese competition on the ground.
Sure, there were other foreign car makers in China, but none dominated the market as much as the Germans, and in particular, Volkswagen.
The name Volkswagen translates as people's car. The company started as a prestige project in 1934 during Germany's Nazi era. In fact, its very first model, the Beetle, was one for the Nazis. Later came the Golf. The Beetle and the Golf are two of the best-selling cars in history.
In the 1980s, a delegation from China visited Volkswagen. One can only assume they liked the name, People's Car, because they had a mission. Get a Western car manufacturer interested to come to China, set up a joint venture with a local company, and produce cars in China for China's people.
We will get there after these short messages.
Clarity is a competitive advantage, especially when it comes to the economy. That's because anybody can know what's happening, but understanding why it matters is crucial. Hi, I'm Kai Rizdal, the host of Marketplace. We provide the context you need to understand how the economy influences our everyday lives, from our local communities to the global conversation. You'll be smarter every time you listen, and these days, that's priceless. Listen to Marketplace on your favorite podcast app.
What are the consequences of getting on Europe's bad side?
The rationale is more like, those guys.
How is stealth wealth changing retail?
You can have taste and still buy dupes.
What does a $6.2 million banana have to do with any of us?
People don't like the attribution of serious financial value to comedy.
Join me, Felix Salmon, and my co-hosts Emily Peck and Elizabeth Spires as we talk about the most important and obscure stories in business and finance. Follow Slate Money wherever you like to listen.
Now back to Delayland.
In the 1980s, a delegation from China visited Volkswagen. One can only assume they liked the name, People's Car, because they had a mission. Get a Western car manufacturer interested to come to China, set up a joint venture with a local company, and produce cars in China for China's people.
Remember those ads about the magic of German engineering and performance, and who invented the automobile? The Chinese loved all that. There were times when Volkswagen's market share in China approached 50%.
And when the Chinese became more affluent, they didn't hold back. They spent freely on German luxury models like the Mercedes S-Class or the 7 Series by BMW.
But China hadn't only invited foreign car makers to sell cars to their citizens. They also wanted to learn how to build cars themselves.
Foreign car makers were only allowed to produce cars in China if they set up a joint venture with a Chinese partner. The idea was that eventually Chinese car makers would be able to build good cars without a foreign partner.
Here's Manuel Vermeer. He teaches Chinese culture and business at the East Asia Institute of the University of Applied Sciences in Ludwigshafen and works as a consultant for European companies that want to do business in China and Chinese companies that want to do the same in Europe.
From the beginning, it was clear that China wanted to learn from us. And if you look back for the last 2,000 years, China doesn't learn just to be a student or a pupil, they want to become the teacher.
But for the Chinese leadership, the process from student to master was frustratingly long.
Decades went by. Chinese companies built their own cars, but they did not have internal combustion engines that could compete with the foreign ones.
But change was on the way. The early signs were easy to overlook. They came in the form of bureaucratic directives by China's government. Here's Beatrix again.
Pretty much in 2009 it started, the first NEV, so New Energy Vehicle Regulation. That was a big game changer.
As Beatrix said, NEV stands for New Energy Vehicles. That includes battery-powered electric cars, hybrids, and fuel cell electric cars which are powered by hydrogen.
With this directive, the Chinese government announced a goal to bring more cars on the road that don't run on fossil fuel only. In other words, cars that don't need an internal combustion engine.
New energy vehicles and electric cars in particular are often seen as a way to fight air pollution and climate change. But Beatrix said environmental concerns were not the main reason China's government decided to push the new technology.
It was not really driven by climate change in China. It was to find a technology where the foreigners can be put aside and where China can thrive.
Starting with EV, they had the once-in-a-lifetime chance to even overtake Germany. And this is what they did. So they poured billions and billions of dollars in this market share and successfully managed to overtake us. And now they are, apart from Tesla, the world leaders in EV.
In order to support local EV producers, China's government spent big on infrastructure, subsidies, research, and tax breaks. The Germans, and indeed most foreign car makers in China, did not see this coming.
They underestimated the will and the speed of development and the overall political toughness.
Within a few years, hundreds of startups specializing in electric cars popped up all over China.
At first, the market share of new energy vehicles increased only very slowly. From 0% in 2009 to less than 5% 10 years later, just before the COVID pandemic. Then, the numbers exploded. Now, 5 years later, it's expected that every second car sold in China will be a new energy vehicle.
This has hit German car makers hard. Their sales in absolute numbers have tanked in China.
With the exception of Tesla, Chinese customers buy Chinese when they buy electric.
The Chinese, unsatisfied in their role as student, have become masters. Thanks to electromobility, they have won back huge parts of their domestic market and ended a dependence on foreign car makers.
And they produce EVs cheaper than others, which makes them attractive for European buyers too.
They have arrived this week. A ship filled with Chinese electric cars made for the European market offloaded its cargo at a port in northern Germany. It is the first ever shipment to Europe by the world's biggest electric car maker, BYD.
And perhaps most important is that China is the leading producer of what makes electric cars run: batteries.
Thanks to years of government-funded research and millions of homemade electric vehicles on the road, Chinese companies are leaders in battery technology.
Here's an extract from a promotional video by CATL, a Chinese company that is the world's largest producer of batteries for electric cars.
In just over a decade since its founding, CATL has achieved 36.8% global market share, ranking first in the world for 7 consecutive years.
Battery technology is to electric vehicles what the internal combustion engine is to fossil fuel cars. Everything.
The range of a car depends on
batteries.
Recharge time depends on
batteries.
Performance in bad weather depends on
batteries.
Speed depends on
batteries.
And price depends on
batteries.
You get the idea.
Batteries.
So, within a few years, the roles have reversed. The Germans, so proud of their engineering, have lost their magic.
And as we all know, catching up is more difficult than leading the way. Besides the knowledge and experience, EVs and their batteries require a lot of raw materials like copper, lithium, and rare earth metals, which China has on tap. Here's Manuel again.
All these resources, the Chinese are buying in the whole world, in South America and Africa, Southeast Asia. And then they're bringing them to China and they're building batteries, and we have to buy the batteries. Even if we build very good EV cars, we still need the batteries from China. So again, we are more dependent than we used to be.
The Germans went from hero to zero in record time. How did it come to this?
For Manuel, the reason is obvious: arrogance.
I've been conducting intercultural trainings for Germans regarding China for more than 30 years. And it's always from the German point of view, we are superior. How can we teach them what to do? They should learn from us. But hardly ever it was something like we could learn from them, or should we more listen? And maybe they are different than we think. So I think it has a lot to do with arrogance and not being able to admit that we also might be the ones who can learn from other cultures. And this is not specific to China.
So, if we accept that argument, German car makers were blinded by arrogance. They relied on past glories, the world-famous German engineering, and that delayed all efforts to change.
So the next big question is, what now?
I mean, they could downsize, they could drastically cut jobs and close plants, and then resign to a gloomy future with lower sales.
Or they could get their acts together and boldly go where they haven't gone before, explore new territories and win new markets.
That's the spirit. But a small detail, the world's most populous nation is not China anymore, it's India.
And many people are wondering whether India could make up for Germany's losses in China.
To find out, we took a trip to Chennai, a city of more than 6 million people in southeast India. Here we are, standing in a busy street in Chennai, and we see lots of cars and we can hear lots of cars. But when we look around, we don't see any German cars.
Yeah, it's super loud. There is a lot of traffic. You see a lot of rickshaw taxis. You see a lot of smaller cars. You see a lot of Indian brands, but German cars, nowhere.
Nowhere. Just to have a quick look, we see a Honda here, we saw a Maruti over there, we saw a small Tata Electric over there. But this is a Suzuki car, a Japanese company that has connections with the Indian makers. No German car wherever we look. There,
there is
Volkswagen.
a German car, a Volkswagen, I can't believe it. Look at it.
Alas, Volkswagen India declined to speak to us.
But BMW took up the offer. Their cars are, on average, more expensive than Volkswagens, and in the streets of Chennai, an even rarer sight.
Chennai is called the Detroit of India because many car makers have production facilities there, BMW included.
It takes an hour's drive through dense Chennai traffic to reach the plant, where we met Thomas Dose, its manager.
First things first, we just had to know whether it pained him to see so few BMWs on the streets of India.
No, it's not making my heart bleed. It gives me a lot of room for improvement. Because if every second car would be a German car, then I would say, okay, this market is saturated, no more money to make. Now it's good.
But BMW are not alone in India.
There's a big rush to the Indian market because everybody feels now if we are not in India now, we will miss an opportunity.
Thomas Dose gave us a tour of his factory. As BMW plans go, it's very small.
We are producing roughly 72 to 80 cars per day.
Compared to BMW's other plants, the output is tiny. BMW's big plant in Dingolfing, southern Germany, for example, can produce up to 1,500 cars a day.
But what's important for the car maker is that its small numbers are growing, and growing fast, by more than 10% a year.
We are now the biggest growing market in the BMW group. Makes us proud. We are prepared for that. So that's the overall situation for us here in India.
BMW assembles cars for the Indian market from components made elsewhere. It's how they avoid India's high tariff on imported cars, which can double the retail price.
Thomas told us that's exactly how BMW started in China.
We have started in China with the same business model we have now in India. So we had a very similar plant in China like we have it here. And the change was rapidly. Then all of a sudden, the market was exploding.
Which, of course, brings us back to that big question. Will the Indian market explode like China's? Will it save the German car industry?
India is a new China. I would say no. It's India. It's different. It has its potential. But we will not have these extensive growth like in China. It will be a different growth.
The differences between India and China are endless, whether it's their political and economic systems, their infrastructure, or other things.
But for all the talk of potential in the Indian car market, the reality is that right now, German car makers are selling nothing near as many cars as they would need to sell to compensate for their losses in China.
Manuel Vermeer, the business professor and consultant who talked to us earlier, also helps companies do business in India. And he told us German companies won't be selling cars in significant numbers in India unless they change their attitude.
Manuel said they need to listen to and learn from local markets, rather than just impose their way. Japanese brands, for example, produce cars for India that are simpler and cheaper than the ones they produce for their domestic market.
We want to sell the best cars in the world, which is nice for Germany. It used to work for 100 years, but not anymore. This high level of technique and expertise we have, maybe sometimes it's just over-engineering. You know, we wait till the product is perfect, 100%, or maybe 110%, then we put into the market. And other countries like India and China, they say, okay, 80% is fine. Let's go to the market and then let's see what the customer says. Let's get feedback. And then we can change, we can adapt. So maybe our sense of being perfect is not the best thing for this specific market.
Beatrix Keim at the consultancy Center Automotive Research is more optimistic.
They learned the lesson. They heard that they need to be faster, that they need to come down from their high ivory tower and to see what the others do and to go out again and learn. So I think they are really trying hard to learn the lesson.
But the sentiment on the factory floor is different again. We spoke to a Mercedes employee who doubted German car makers would be able to reinvent themselves, at least not in the big plants and headquarters back home in Germany. We're not naming them to protect their identity.
Most of the people that I got to know are from the region and have never ever worked in a different company. They feel very comfy. There is also a guarantee that there won't be any firing waves until 2030. That also makes the workers think that it's all safe and comfy. But I mean, it's just 5 years away from now.
Back at the Nürburgring, we did see some change. Chinese EV manufacturers like NIO test their vehicles here and use their performance at the famous racetrack in advertising campaigns.
Misha Charoudin, the car racer who took us for a spin at the start of this episode, has a soft spot for electric vehicles.
I don't like to call myself as a petrol head or whatsoever. I'm a car guy. And in the end, I appreciate the performance of the car, the way the car handles, the engineering that went into certain components or the car in general. And that is for me what is most important.
And to prove his point, Misha invited us to go electric on the Nürburgring. Just after we had recovered from the punishing lap with his 450 horsepower internal combustion engine race car, he suggested we join him for a lap in his daily driver, as he called it. An electric car he and his partner use in everyday life, by the US company Lucid.
Okay, so my wife had this car, so I need to adjust the settings for me.
Massage seats.
If you want. Let's go. Have fun.
Yay!
Misha assured us he would take it easy this time. No helmets, no racing-style 5-point seat belts.
It could have been such a relaxing ride. If only the electric motor hadn't been so powerful.
Fuck!
It had 1,111 horsepower, more than double the race car that made us sick earlier.
Not again!
One thing we learned on that ride, we are not car guys.
We just don't have what it takes.
Are we done?
I'm completely...
If you want to,
yeah.
I can do like a very easy lap.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's really fine.
Okay.
I'm exhausted. But there was one question we still needed to ask Misha.
Could he, the self-professed car guy, imagine a future without German cars?
It can happen. It can happen because we've seen lots of crazy stuff happening over the past, whether it's Nokia or other companies that were really thriving on everything, and then all of a sudden they missed the boat.
As we departed and the sun went down on the Nürburgring, we drove home on our beloved autobahn.
So, Nico, what do you think? Did German car makers really delay things for too long? Did they miss the boat?
Yeah, I think more than that. They actually fell asleep at the wheel. They felt so comfy, they were so busy polishing their trophies that they actually didn't realize that the next race was already happening. They thought the world would wait for them.
Then again, I was thinking that maybe this was bound to happen. Because if you look at other industries, often when there's a new technology, something that really changes the way things are being done, something that is disrupting, it usually comes from industry outsiders and not from the established heavyweights.
Yeah, if we think back about what Misha said, the example with Nokia. Nokia was the biggest cell phone producer in the world, and when the iPhone came, it hit them hard, and the iPhone came from a company that never produced a phone before. It seems like the more successful you are, the higher your resistance to change.
And I mean, maybe this applies not only to companies, but to whole countries.
Like Germany, our Delayland.
So what's coming up next?
We look at what happened to German efficiency and planning.
Uh-oh.
Yep, it's a disaster.
It feels like throwing good money after bad over and over and over again.
I was really not sure whether it's a suicide commando or not.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Nobody can pinpoint to what exactly went wrong.
So, what do you think about Germany and what should it learn from other countries?
Share your thoughts and write an email to delayland@dw.com.
Delayland, Germany and the Missing Magic is a DW production researched, written and produced by us,
Andreas Becker
and Nicolas Martin.
Our editor was Zulfikar Abani.
Sound design by Warner Poland, audio editing and mixing by Simon Becker.
Executive producer Judith Hartl.
Special thanks to Thomas Neufeld, Ashutosh Pandey, and the whole DW business team and the DW Hindi department.
People who contributed to this episode:
the DW office in Delhi, the DW Tamil Nadu office in Chennai. Special thanks to our dear colleague Gunavati Manavalan, Stefan Halusa of the Indo-German Chamber of Commerce, and Misha Charoudin for taking us on a ride on the Nürburgring. By the way, we're not endorsing any of the car brands mentioned in this podcast.
Cover art: Nora Charlotte Tom and Anke Jordan.
Marketing: Sam Becker and Sachin Sharma.
If you like this podcast, hit subscribe, leave us a comment on your favorite podcast platform, and tell your friends about it.
Thanks for listening, and come back next time.
Hi, I'm Kate Laycock, host of DW's weekly European news podcast, Inside Europe. Our correspondents were there when the Berlin Wall fell, when the Balkans Wars broke out, and when Britain voted to leave the European Union. Now the continent is changing again, and we're rising to the challenge with our weekly combination of expert analysis and on-the-ground reporting. Find Inside Europe wherever you get your podcasts.